Yo, how are y'all? This is our 5th episode, so we're 5 episodes in to a Boss on TDP. Did you see that opening though? I'm gonna attach the photo that I came up with. I'm not the artist. I'm an artist in different ways, but I cannot draw. That's not my skill. So I was telling homegirl, I'm like, yeah, like I like this concept, the skull, butterfly, a butterfly coming out of its cocoon, hanging off of like a dying flower on a skull or whatever. So I draw this up, and then she does her magic powers and creates what she does. And I'm just like, that's why you the homie. I fuck with her heavy. If you like the opening, if you like my book covers, which I'll also attach, and you are looking for someone that can bring your idea to life, you can hit me up. You can inbox me on Instagram. You can comment on this video and I'll send you her info. Her info will be on my my captions. But for sure, if you purchase my book or if you follow me on Instagram, you can easily find her. The point is, if you need someone to bring your idea to life, let homie know, and homie got you. Okay. So today I wanted to talk about just feeling a bit overwhelmed. So before I get into that, I wanted to define what overwhelmed means, and I'm getting this definition from www.dictionary.com, Google. So I typed in overwhelmed. You can easily do that with your smartphone. I'm assuming that a lot of us have smartphones. If you don't, then it's okay. Dictionaries, physical dictionaries still exist. Anyway, so overwhelm is the word, and it is a verb. So I'm summing up the definitions. Overwhelm, to overcome completely in the mind or feeling. That's actually the whole line. So to overcome completely in the mind or feeling. Overwhelm also means to overpower or overcome. It can also mean to cover or to bury beneath a mass of something. So that makes sense. And that will go with like floods, like the floods overwhelmed the city. The sand overwhelmed my feet or something. So to overthrow. So these definitions make me basically how I would define it based off of this is just something that's overpowering, something that buries you. If we're talking about how we feel overwhelmed, it's some situation, some feeling, some thought is just overpowering you. Too much of it is happening and it's overtaking you. It's like a flood of whatever the case might be that's overwhelming you. And you can be overwhelmed with happiness. Like, just say you just got super excited and super happy that a flood of happiness hit you. Or you got really sad. A flood of sadness just hit you and you're drowning in this. It's covering you. It's burying you. So that's what overwhelms, technically the dictionary term, what overwhelm means. But of course we can all define it differently or feel it differently or express it differently. But there's this common understanding of what it means, what the word overwhelmed means. So why am I even bringing up the term overwhelmed? I wanted to sit and talk about this because overall I'm feeling a little overwhelmed and I wanted to express and open up about that. So we talked about what it means to be overwhelmed, or the definition of overwhelmed, right? And once again, that's like basically being overpowered by something, buried by something, consumed by something, at like a large amount, or just a very powerful amount, of whatever that thing is. So how do I know when I'm overwhelmed? I recently found out, well, not recently, but a little while ago, I actually found out that I can physically figure out when I'm overwhelmed. When I am extremely overwhelmed, to the point, well, my body, not my soul or my mind, but when my body is overworked, tired, overwhelmed, like just so much is going on, it feels like all the stress is just overwhelming my body, right? It's flooding my body, it's burying me. My body's being buried under just shit ton of stress. I actually get nosebleeds, and that's how I know when there's too much going on. And a lot of times, so the skin in your nose can be very, very thin, especially if it's very dry. It's easy to pop that vein that's in your nostril, especially since that skin area, that's not a lot really going on. And so, which is still weird because it's like, damn, it pops and all that blood is just rushing through my skin pore, or does my skin cut open or what? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But emotionally, or my mind, how do I know when I'm overwhelmed? I guess it's just like I feel way more than normal. So say if normally I could be, stress is common in life. So say if I might be a little stressed out, but then say compared to one day where I'm overly stressed, like I'm feeling the sensation just 10 times more than normal. I'm overwhelmed by stress, or what's going on that's causing the stress. So I guess I can tell when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm feeling something a little bit too much, which makes sense if it means that if the definition of overwhelm is to be overpowered or to be covered or to be buried by something, right? And I like to think of it now as like a flood. The city was overwhelmed. The flood overwhelmed the city. So we can compare that flood to some emotional sense, like sadness overwhelmed the city, or the boy, the girl, our mind, our soul. So yeah, I guess when I'm feeling overwhelmed, like I'm feeling something just a lot more. And then it's weird. I know there's just all these terms and all these feelings and emotions or whatever, so they can kind of blend. But I would assume that me feeling overwhelmed causes me to have anxiety. So I don't know if anxiety, or I guess anxious is more, I'm anxious. Well, that sounds like a noun. But then I'm overwhelmed sounds like a noun too. But the definition or the type of word that overwhelmed is technically a verb based off of the dictionary. The city overwhelmed that. So, anyway, I'm assuming the verb of being overwhelmed and the action of getting overwhelmed causes me to have anxiety, which I don't know. Let me see if anxiety is a noun. It only makes sense. Please be a noun. Please be a noun. It's a noun. Yes. So anxiety is a noun. Distress or uneasiness of the mind, caused by fear of danger, of misfortune. Anyway, so I guess like me being overwhelmed, the action of getting overwhelmed causes my anxiety to act up. So I guess that's how I can tell when I'm being overwhelmed, is when I'm feeling more anxious or I'm playing in the role of my anxiety. And so how that normally looks is that I'm overthinking things and it's causing me to write. When I'm overthinking things, oh my gosh, my notebooks are my best friend already, but I guess they become my lover when I'm anxious and feeling overwhelmed, because I write it out. With my anxiety, I get very controlling. And it's not necessarily like controlling of other people where I'm bossing everyone around or this and this and that and giving people attitudes. But I get controlling with myself and things that I think I can control. And I try not to really put that pressure onto others, so all of that pressure is onto me. Like, for example, with my job, one reason why I actually really like my job is that my anxiety, and technically a bad habit that is in the normal setting of life, helps me a lot with my job, because with my job I have to control production. I have to make sure that everything's going the way that's supposed to, in a sense, like builds are going the way that they need to go and whatever ordered based off of the customer's demand. And so with me, when I get overwhelmed at work or I'm feeling anxious at work, I'm just like constantly coming up with a plan in which needs to come out, when it needs to come out, when do we need to get this done, when this department needs to be dealing with that, when that department needs to be dealing with that. And that's very controlling. Because if you think about it, I can't sit here and plan my whole life to the bone. Even with production, when I come up with these action plans, it doesn't happen all the way. But that's me over planning. I can't say, I used to, before I used to work here, whenever I got anxious or feeling overwhelmed with my money situation, I will get my notebooks and I will like overwrite all of my bills, all of my expenses, all of the money I have, all of my debt, when I'm going to pay this, when I'm going to do that. And I will write it over and over and over and over and over again. Because I guess when I'm writing it in that world, in that reality, I feel like I have control. But in actuality, I don't, in the real world. And so whenever the real world wouldn't really match what I'm writing, it will make me even more anxious. So I don't know if that all makes sense, but the point is that when I'm getting overwhelmed, or when something's overwhelming me, whether it be stress, whether it be a feeling, whether it be a situation, it's flooding me, it's overpowering me, then it causes me to be anxious. It causes me to have anxiety. And when I get into that mental state of being anxious, it causes me to overplan, to overwrite everything, and to just basically freak out. And if my body's feeling overwhelmed by whatever situation, then it causes me to have nosebleeds. But I really, really have to be putting my body through a lot of mess for me to get to that point of a nosebleed. So yeah. So basically, what are some things that I do that helps me when I'm overwhelmed, or that can possibly help you? So I have mentioned already that I like to write, even though in a sense my writing was a little bit of unhealthy. But I'm getting to a place where I'm learning to kind of understand that just because I'm writing this over and over and over again does not mean that this is going to happen, does not mean that this changes what's really happening in the real world. So I do kind of pay attention to that. And that's one way too that I can kind of tell if I'm being overwhelmed about something, is that when I start seeing that I'm writing something over and over again, I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. This situation is overwhelming you. It's overpowering your mental, your mind, your conscious, your subconscious, because you are subconsciously always writing about it. You don't even notice it. You're always writing about it. So this situation is overwhelming you. So we got to take a step back. We got to breathe and just look at the situation and see why. See where it stems from. See what's happening. See what you are in control of. And the only thing you are really in control of is yourself. So you have to figure out what you are doing in that situation and what you can change, because clearly what you are currently doing is not working. That's why you're feeling overwhelmed. You don't necessarily want to run away from the problem, because that problem will keep running after you. And you might be able to run a little faster than the problem and get a good amount of distance over, but one day you will get tired, and one day you will slow down, and that shit is going to just bam! It's going to come up on behind you, and now you more than overwhelmed, you more than overpowered, you dead, you drowned. There's no coming up. So you don't necessarily want to run away from your problems, run away from the things that are making you overwhelmed. However, handle it slowly. You don't have to change it. You don't have to fix it in one day, in 1 minute. Handle it slowly to a state that's not overwhelming. Take it little by little. Because clearly you doing what you're currently doing, or clearly you diving all the way in, is what's making you overwhelmed. Do it little by little. So writing, honestly, writing is my best friend. I want to encourage people to write more. That would be amazing for me in the future, to be able to really find a way to make you all excited to write, to read. I have a book. But it is a little expensive. I'm sorry. I want to try a cheaper way to get that book out. But anyway, yes, writing is very helpful. When I feel overwhelmed in a situation, when I feel anxious, I write. I really write because I'm able to have this conversation with myself, not only in my head, not only in my subconscious without me noticing. Your subconscious be talking. Your subconscious be really fucking talking. You just can't hear it. But when I write it, I'm able to look down at it and read it and to converse with it. So writing's super important. Another thing is just, I think I already said it, but just breathing. Taking it a little by little, like I had just said. Stepping out. Like, for example, when I'm at work. So, okay. I don't want to go into details of my job or like where I work. Maybe every once in a while I'll like reference my job or what I do. So with my job, right? A few of my buyers will make me feel overwhelmed because of all their requests or because of this and wanting that. And it's normal. It's a part of the job. You feel me? This is what I got into, and they're not holding a gun to my head saying that I have to stay. I can leave if I want to, but I don't. So anyway, and it's not just one person, it's a few, and it's not like they're just chasing 5 things. It's a good amount, and it's not only that I have to communicate this to one person, it's different departments, and all these things randomly pop up. So at times it can get overwhelming, but anyway, like, if I'm in my office, especially if I'm alone, and I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, I'm like, okay, before I move to the next task, I have to just sit and breathe. I go to the bathroom, I rinse my face, I drink some tea if I have any tea, I go outside, get some air, I sit for a little bit, I'll probably step away and go talk to a coworker, just something that can calm me down a little bit, that would distract me for a little bit, right? Because I can't run away from my problem. I can, but it's only going to come back to me sooner or later. But I choose not to run away from my problems. I just choose to take a break, to smell the flowers, basically, then hop back up in the race. And when I get back into the race, I'm not over here sprinting. I start walking, that eventually turns into a fast walk, which eventually turns into a jog, and then I start sprinting or whatever the case might be. So I'll do my little distraction, go talk to a coworker, go breathe somewhere else, like outside, and then I'll come back, and then before I hop back into it, I breathe. I like to tell myself some things, like, dude, you're good, you're doing your best, just take it little by little and everything will be okay. And of course, it's much easier said than done. Everything's much fucking easier said than done. We do a lot of barking. A lot of barking. And no fucking action. No fucking biting. So, it's easy to talk. So, yes, this is very easy. You can sit here and listen to it. Well, okay, cool, you write. Or, okay, cool, you go and breathe. But I can't do that. That doesn't work for me. You have to make it work for you, honey. Okay? It took me a long ass time for me to be able to down myself or like calm down or whatever. You gotta practice and you gotta remind yourself that you want this to work. You want to feel better. You want to feel something. So you have to do it more than once for it to really feel like anything. So yes, it's fucking hard. And yes, maybe the first few times you are still gonna feel overwhelmed. But you have to continue to do it and condition your mind, your subconscious, your conscious, that everything will be okay by doing these things, right? Once you are feeling overwhelmed and you start taking the step outside and telling yourself outside, like, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Okay, you go back to doing what you have to do. Now you're feeling that way again. You're feeling anxious. Okay, let's go outside and let's tell ourselves everything's going to be okay. You do that a few times, then sooner or later your brain is going to associate you stepping away from a situation that's making you feel overwhelmed, that's overwhelming you. Stepping away from it for a second, telling yourself that you're going to be okay, or breathing or getting tea, it's going to associate calmness. It's going to associate being okay to those actions. So when you start doing it, you're going to feel like you're okay. So it takes time. But it also takes you to tell yourself that it's going to be okay and to put in the work and effort to make it okay. Okay? Okay. So, yeah. that's basically my little talk, and I would love to dive into things like this more often. However, it's going to be some time, like I said, these next months. I'm really working on collabing with people and having people come and share their voice with us. So I'm very excited to see how these next few months go and to see how we grow as an environment, as a group of people who are here to support each other, to converse with each other, be friends with each other, and learn from each other. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. And, you know, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, y'all. This upcoming week at work, it's about to be hella crazy. It's about to be hella crazy. Oh, another little thing I want to note. When I know I'm about to go through something that could be overwhelming, or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I write me a little letter, like a letter of me saying I'm a badass, and I'll tape it. I'll have to show it to you guys one day, but I'll write it like, hey Shay, you're this, you're amazing, you survived this, you can walk to hell, and the devil's sitting there like, damn ma, like go through, like just some weird cheesy shit, you feel me? And I'll put it somewhere that I can read it, so when I feel overwhelmed, I can read that and remind myself that you are a baddie, you are a badass. Or I might write about when I was going through a time where it was very dark and I thought I couldn't get through it, and I'll put that somewhere. So where I am feeling overwhelmed or feeling like I can't go through it, or it's horrible or whatever, I have this note to look back and remind myself that, hell yeah, I can get through it. So yeah, that's that. And like I said, these next months until I move is going to be more with other people, but I mean, hang in there. I love the support. I need the support. Please join this environment with us, this environment, like this community. Support others, and we'll see how this goes. And we'll have a lot more of these type of conversations and personal conversations later this year once I move. Send me that positive energy. Send me that positive energy for me to move. Send that positive energy for our future sailor. I hope the best for you all. Please have a good one. And if you haven't already, homie, subscribe, homie. And have a good one. Bye. Before I done trying to fuck you, baby.